having been in the Harry Potter movies, maybe you could talk about sort of coming into a property like this where there are such great expectations and sort of balancing those with what you need to do to make the character interesting and challenging to yourself.
It's strange with Harry Potter. I knew exactly what I was going into, and it was a very slick machine, that the production, when by the time I got there. And so I mean, and I was cast for a reason in that, and I pretty much did whatever I wanted in that, and I couldn't really go too far off the rails because everything was so it was just laid out for me.
Mm-hmm.
On this, it was very much there was people were scrambling to like figure out what it actually was they were dealing with, because the hype got bigger and bigger as we were shooting it. But when I got the part, and the majority of the time when I was shooting it, I didn't know anything about the hype. I didn't know what it was. I felt like I had free reign over anything. I felt like I had no responsibility to anybody, other than to make it a good movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's also sort of an established canon of sort of what vampires are on screen. Was there a sense that there were things that you needed to do or not do to effectively play a guy, and maybe sort of or avoid, to make sure that it wasn't a cliche or something like that?
No, I mean I didn't even think about it being a vampire. I don't know anything about vampires. I mean, I just kind of like. I like certain vampire movies, but I mean, I didn't see it as a vampire script. It's not really talking about vampire lore or anything. And when it is talking about vampire lore, it's saying everything, all the myths about vampires are all bullshit, and it's like, and these are what the actual realities are, and there are actual scenes where they're describing it. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't really too concerned with the actual vampire element of a vampire story.
Well, one of the things that you and Kristen do so effectively is really convey that sense of sort of adolescent sort of turmoil, that internal sort of thinking about all these different things. At the same time, your character is not just 17, he's like 117 or however old he actually is. It's like, how do you, when you're sort of preparing for this, think about the idea that this guy is not just a kid struggling with his feelings, but a guy who has spent decades literally sort of brooding and thinking about all this stuff, and then at the same time is reacting to her in a way that's sort of very pure and sort of adolescent in terms of his passion?
I mean, I guess he is. I could never really establish in my head. I mean, I kind of settled on a certain thing, but I think he remained a 17-year-old, but for 108 years, and I think he has seen the world as a 17-year-old, but had all these experiences. But his brain has never really adapted, and so I think he still has that angst from when you're 17. Like when you're 108, you get jaded. You get like, if he was actually a 108-year-old man, you have a very different idea. It's to do with love. It's much more desperate and selfish. But like, I think still has the same emotions of a 17-year-old, where it's still much more fiery and volatile. Yeah, so I mean, I think, but at the same time it's kind of intensified because he's been reliving these same things every single day, not even sleeping for another 90 years.